What is up, everybody? And thank you because you are tuned in to Real Laughs right here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm your host tonight, Mr. James Eon, the artist formerly known as the host of The Lowdown with a brand new show that's probably going to get him canceled. But that's neither here nor there. Moving on, I'm joined in virtual studio with some really good friends of mine, both of them comedians, but each doing something else unique. That's right. The first guy up, he is the official sponsor of our show. I love him to death. He's a good friend of mine, comedian. He makes comic books as well. And he's been serving and winning for the people of Orlando for the last 20 years. I'll give it up for my man, Mr. Jeff Kaufman, in the office today. Look at you, hard at work.
Yeah, look at me in a suit looking like I'm a respectable human being. Look at this nonsense.
There you go, Your Honor. Let the record reflect.
Members of this proposed jury. Yeah.
Your Honor, you're trying to tell me a boy can't just bring a rifle to school now? It's some sort of hunting season. Run, boy, run. I can't help you. Run. We tried. He's a good lad. He's like, listen, son, I'm going to go up there and pull a little defense I like to call the Alka-Seltzer seizure. I'm going to pretend I'm having a seizure. You're going to run out to the car. Bridget going to get you a little walking around money and a pistol. And you go check out a little town I like to call Mexico for a while. Lay low. I tried as hard as I could. This one's unwinnable. You're a good lad, all right? Just work your way out there. I'll get you a little cocaine connect. You'll be on your feet by Tuesday. Hell of a run we had, huh? Hell of a run. Let's do this.
That other voice that you are hearing, that guy who cracks me up each and every day, is my man, my partner in crime, the guy who helped start Real Laughs, Mr. Miguel Colon Jr. Miguel, how you doing, bro?
Good, Jeff. I have a question. Do I need to be a licensed attorney to co-chair with you one day? Or can I just be like, hey, I'm shadowing, I'm just getting my hours, I'm part of Job Corps here? Because I'd love to just be, and I'll just throw wildness. We're not going to win. I mean, you'll win it.
You'll win.
That's the testament, too. I'll be like, listen, it's like running with weights on you. Look how well you can do being held back. Be like, I'm a co-chair. Jeff's still going to win. That's how good of a lawyer he is.
If that ain't a goddamn commercial, I don't know what would be.
I'm gonna be like, objection, Your Honor, reasonable doubt. They're like, what does that have to do with anything? Like, that album was hard. Yeah. That's all I wanted to say. I was listening to it on the way in.
Gotcha. Now, Miguel, you didn't have comedy this weekend, did you?
No, this weekend. No, I did. I was with Jeff. Me and him did a show.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I was doing Mad Cats all this weekend.
Gotcha. I always like to
put some respect on it, son.
You know what? I wholeheartedly apologize. I always like to catch up with us as far as where we've been, and I like to let people know where you can see us and do when we do comedy, whatnot like that. But you were in New Smyrna, Madcaps, little beach town, if you will. How was it for you, brother?
It was good. Beach towns are weird, man, because like those people drink
they
all
are.
day.
That's why I asked.
They're all like retired. Because like if you aren't retired and you're living in a beach town, then you're not doing well.
You're not doing it right.
If you're living in a beach town and you're still working, it's bad run. Bad run for
it
you.
is. I love going to do a beach town because we'll go to like Vero Beach, and no matter what the demographic may be, if there's white people there, they're darker than I am because all they do is go to the beach.
That Corinthian leather skin. Beach towns close early though. Everything's because everybody's been drinking all day. So by like 9 o'clock, and then here's the weirdest thing. Me and you, when we do, what was it, Vero or Jupiter? I can't remember which one it was.
I think Vero.
Me and James found a beach town that is an anomaly. That is because on their main beach strip, we could not find an ice cream parlor or a pizza parlor. The whole time it was at the end of the show, and I was like, you want to just go get some ice cream or pizza? He's like, yeah. And we didn't ask, we didn't Google. We're like, let's just go to the beach strip because there's always an ice cream parlor and a pizza shop. And I was just driving around. I remember there was an antique coin store on the beach strip. And I was like, that is a waste of beachfront property. It should be an ice cream parlor or a beach shop. That's like going into a public shopping center and not finding a Chinese restaurant. You're like, what is going on? The Chinese restaurant in the public shopping center is like that bird that rides on the crocodile's back.
Yes.
It's just there.
We need each other. Yes.
Yeah.
Damn it, you're right about that, man. I too had the honor of having Mr. Kaufman with me this past weekend. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and we had some really, really good sets, man. I got to see an old friend of mine. I don't know if you guys ever heard of her, but she's Jackie Knight. I know Jackie Knight.
I know Jackie Knight.
We love her. And
She
I
always
bring her up.
misspells your name and uses the worst picture for a flyer every time you do a Jackie Knight show.
You do know my girl Jackie. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
You'll
Yeah.
send her 4 pictures. It'll be like one of you holding the microphone, one of you in front of like the sign, one with you at the crowd. And then what does she find for James Yon? She uses a picture of him with dolphins at like Discovery Cove. No lie, Jeff. That's what she put on the flyer. It's James with a life vest on,
Yeah.
squinting because the sun's in his face with a dolphin. That's what she used as the flyer picture. She used one of me. It was me standing with Mike Hurley. Mike Hurley, he wasn't on the show with me.
That's hilarious.
She just put a picture of me and him standing in like the iHeart hallway, and and then she put my name as Mequueal. She was like Miquel Cologne featuring, and then I forgot who the feature was for the show. And then he had like this professional headshot with his name right. And I was like, Jackie, I sent you everything. She's like, I like this picture though. It's so candid. I was like, because it is.
It
Because
is
it's not
yeah.
a headshot.
Oh man. Now Jackie's one of those people, I gotta tell you, she's one of the people who gave me my first chance, Miguel, to headline. There's 2 people.
Yeah.
Bill from Winter Circle, if you know him, shout out to Bill in Lakeland, and Jackie Knight. No one else would let me headline for years, bro. No other club would let me in.
Was it like one of those civil rights movies where they're like, get out of here?
Yeah, get out of here.
Headline. and then Jackie Knight came in like Branch Rickey, and she was like, listen, kid, they're gonna hate you, but you're gonna teach them to love you. Like, Jackie, it's 2008. They just don't want to headline because of my price. It's not my
Yeah.
race. You know?
Bro, I was like Nettie from The Color Purple when they kicked me out. I'm like, nothing but death to keep me from it. Nothing but death to keep me from it. Oh man. So shout out to Jackie Knight, man. I got to
She
actually
enjoyed the show. She was enjoying
did.
it. She was
She
sitting in
did.
the back. She told me, good set. I felt good set, kid. You know, it's
now
like
Jackie
Art
does
Simpson was giving me the thumbs up. It was great.
That's exactly right. Now, if Jackie tells you had a good set and you're a newer comic coming to her club, she means it. Because she's been doing this for almost 30 years, man. So I just wanted to shout her out real quick. Is there anybody, real quick? This is like a little tangent I ran into. Is there anybody in your comedy career that you guys remember in the beginning that you're like, damn, I kind of owe that person something? Not
Joe
like money.
Galagos, bro.
Huh? Joe Galanis?
Joe Galagos, man. Joe Galanis, yeah, man. Joe Galanis was the OG. His dad was running clubs in like the 1920s and 30s
That's
in New York.
true. I forgot that. Yeah,
Joe
man.
was a G. Like I tell you, Joe told me one time, the first time I ever featured at Joe's club.
Laughing. Shout out to
Cat,
that.
yeah,
Fort Myers.
yeah. And this is my first feature out of town. I'd only been in comedy for like 2 years. This is my first feature without somebody I knew. You know, I've been featuring with you guys riding on the road, but this is my first. You're gonna go down and feature for somebody. It was Jim Norton I was featured for, and you're gonna go down your feature, and you're gonna do the show. And I remember Joe told me, he said, listen, man, he said, you're the feature. He was like, and he's like, you're an entertainer. So you entertain. He's like, you enjoy yourself. He's like, this ain't one of these bar shows you're used to doing. He's like, okay. He's like, you know, you don't run around picking up stuff from the tables. You don't help the server. He's like, you do these bar shows and the server might be like, hey, can you help me with this real quick? He goes, no, kid, this is a real show. You're at a club. You're an entertainer. He goes, so if my bartender says, hey, can you help me get some ice real quick? You say, sorry, buddy, I'm the entertainer. And I was nodding. He goes, and if I say, can you go get some ice for me? He goes, you get the F up and go get the ice because this is my club.
And if you know Joe Galanis, yo, that's who he was. But we respect. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Miguel.
No, Joe ran with the old guys. I mean, Joe was running clubs in New York in like the 50s and 60s and stuff.
Yes.
He was 1,000 years old when I met him. And he could,
straight shooter.
Straight shooter.
Straight shooter,
paid you cash every time you walked in the door.
Like a gentleman.
Put you up at the hotel, took care of you.
Plaza.
Very fancy. Joe Galagos was the man.
Yeah,
and it was a great shows he put on.
And he taught me some lessons. And here's one of the lessons I learned for anybody out there thinking about doing comedy and like wondering how comedy, the behind the scenes in business works. How I got most of my work, meaning where I got to go perform, was by word of mouth from other comedians. That's how we usually do it. You can send all the emails you want. You can send all the clips to that club you want and to the booker. I want to work there. But if they trust another comedian, that comedian puts his name on you, that's usually how I get most of my work. So I wanted to pay that forward. There was a young comic who said, James, would you mind recommending me to go work for Joe Galanis? And I said, yes. And I warned him, look, Joe's a straight shooter. So you got to just play it right. Don't mess up. Don't hit on a waitress, tip everybody. Just be there on time. He said, yeah, I understand. So this comic gets a feature weekend and he goes there. Now, we all know about the first show and the second show. If you don't, the first show on a Friday or Saturday is usually very busy. That second show, there could be 4 to 100 people. You never know. It could be light sometimes. So that second show had like 10 people. And that comic that I recommended saw that there was only 10 people, and he did something that you never do. He punished the people that were there for the people that wasn't. You know what I mean? He sat down on the audience instead of just giving it his normal amount of energy and really trying to make everyone laugh. He kind of just half-assed it. Not in Joe Galanis' club. When he got off stage, Joe not only ripped him a new one, but Joe proceeded to call me after the Late Show and rip me a new one because I recommended that comic. So that taught me my first lesson about who you recommend. You got to be very careful who you put your name on. So
James,
shout out to Joe.
when I reached out to Joe and I said, listen, I'm a comic from Orlando. I had went to you and Devin's class on how to write clubs and how to reach out to clubs.
Absolutely.
And so I reached out to Joe. And Joe called me up because you told me, you said, go ahead and use my name as a recommendation.
Yes.
And so when Joe called me up, he goes, this is Joe Galanis from, and I'm like, hey, what's up, Joe? We're just talking. And he's like, you said James Yon's a reference of yours. I said, yeah. He goes, I'm going to call James Yon. He goes, and if James Yon tells me you're good, he's like, I'm going to give you a date. He goes, and if James Yon tells me you're not good, we're never going to talk again.
Damn.
Yeah. He's like, so he goes, is James Yon really your reference? I said, yes, sir. He's like, okay. And then luckily I knew James wasn't gonna say that, but he called me for like a day, and then he calls me up and he's like, here's your dates. And then this is what Joe too. If you did good, this is all you heard from Joe. If you did good, you didn't get kid, you killed it. Wow, blah, blah, blah. You want that. You want that as a comic. You want every. All you got from Joe is after the last show, you go to his office to get your pay, and he'd be like, hey, I'm gonna call you Monday, and you're gonna tell me what dates you got. And that was the biggest. And you felt great because you were like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, he didn't mince words. He didn't say anything. He didn't blow smoke up your butt. Hey, I'm going to call you Monday and we're going to get a date. And let me tell you something, man. A lot of bookers don't do that. You got to chase them after you even do their club and you're good at it to go get another date.
Because some people have egos too. And the ones who don't have the ego, the ones who have the businessman, they're not because some guys are like, yeah, why don't you call me in a couple weeks and I'll maybe find, the ones who are business are like, give me your dates. If I got one that matches, and it's no hard feelings if they don't. They're like, sorry, kid, got nothing for you because your availabilities don't match what I got. Joe hit me up one time, and this was my biggest compliment from Joe. I reached out to Joe and I was like, hey Joe, I was like, I'm gonna be in town. Can I do a guest spot? And he was like, the second show, yes. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, cool, second show because there's less time. And then he texted me that morning because it was like the day, the first show was Thursday. The second show, meaning when I say the second show, I mean the second show of the evening. The second night performing was Friday. And I texted him. I said, hey, Mr. Galanis, I'm going to be in town at this time. Thank you for giving me the guest spot. And he never responded back. And then 4 hours later, it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. He was like, I'm firing the feature. Do you want to feature all weekend? And I was like, yeah,
yes.
And I was like, yes, I do. And here's the best part, though. I had to go into the club because the headliner brought the feature. And the headliner brought him to the club also. He's like, he got nowhere to go. And Joe was like, I don't care. He could sit in the back. And so I walk in like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, not knowing this is the feature who got fired. I'm just sitting with him like, you do comedy too? He's like, yeah.
Not tonight.
Why did you get fired?
Don't go. We're going to find that out when we get back from our short break because I got a story too. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back right here on Real Laughs, Real Radio 104.1. Back, everybody, and you are still listening to Real Laughs right here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm your host, Mr. James Yon. I'm joined in virtual studio with some fellow comedians and friends of mine, Mr. Jeff Kaufman and Miguel Colon Jr. Now, before I go on, I want to remind everybody to follow us on social media. That's right. If you don't have us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, I need you guys to go ahead and do that. Subscribe, like, comment, share all this hilarity so we can keep this comedy train going. Now, before we went to break, we were actually talking about comedy and some of the things we learned early on in our career, like why we don't recommend certain comics because it'll come back and bite you on the butt, and how some bookers are more professional than others. But we also ran into the topic about being called by a booker in the middle of a comedy week, meaning a run, whether it be that Friday, Saturday, or that Sunday. And they ask you a question like this: hey, man, I have to fire this comic this weekend for not doing a good job. Can you feel it?
It makes you feel like a gunslinger,
It
guys.
does.
It makes you feel like because they're like, oh man, I know the dude. And then also, it is always embarrassing. They're like, hey, they're like, I know you're booked a lot, kid, but can you do this whole weekend? You're like, I'm at home playing Red Dead Redemption, bro. I got no work this week. Yeah, I'll come.
I got a
right
couple screens
now.
I got to finish. I
Yeah,
got levels I got to knock
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Bro, it's a crazy thing. Or we'll get back to that story, Miguel. Or it's crazy when you go do clubs will do something on a Wednesday. It's called a one-nighter. It's leading up to their big weekends, leading up to the big comedian being there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So they'll do, guys like me and Miguel who aren't household names on a Wednesday to give us a shot and give the audience opportunity to see a different kind of comic. So when you do good on that Wednesday and the club owner's like, man, you did great. Can you stay now for the rest of the weekend and feature for that big name? That's another cool part about comedy, getting extra work when you get there.
Another really cool one is when they have, and it's, I've been on both ends of this, but when the big name headliner, the Nate Bargatze, the guy that you like, you love, he comes to the show that week and they're like, oh, we've got a feature for you. And he's like, no, I want the guy from last time.
Yes.
And now
yes,
it sucks because most of the time this happens last minute. And a lot of times you're booked because but I've had it where they've been like, when Bert Kreischer used to do the improv all the time, he used to always be like, hey, get that kid to host for me, get Miguel to host for me. And then the one time he came into the Monsters and he was like, are you hosting for me this week? And I was like, no, I'm not. And he was like, are you booked? And I was like, no. And then he was like, and then he's like calling Krista, and I'm feeling horrible because one of my friends is hosting, and they're about to get fired only because he's like, no, I like you.
Yeah.
But I've been on the opposite end of it too, where they're like, hey man, got you booked up for so and so. You're gonna be hosting. You're gonna be featured for me. Like, this is great. And then they're like, hey, turns out he's got someone he loves that he's bringing, and you're like, the communication in the comedy business is nothing. All right, it's horrible communication.
It's horrible
because you'll get this call in April about a September show, and they're like, "Hey, so and so's coming here September. You want to be his feature?" And you're like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Okay, cool. Show September 5th and September 3rd." They're like, "Hey, man, turns out he was planning on bringing this super hot girl that's his feature now.
Yeah.
Is she funny? He's bringing her. I've never been fired. Thank God I've never been fired because it's a humiliating experience. But I have replaced people who've been fired. When I replaced at Off the Hook, when I replaced the dude, what happened was he walked audience members and like to walk audience members means during the show, he said things that were like making audience members angry and uncomfortable, and it wasn't funny. And a couple of them walked, and then a couple of them walked, and then
and that's okay for people who don't realize that's dollar signs for the club when they see that walking out. That's money.
Yeah, it's all gone. And it's reputation because they know those people. And people will leave because they don't like you. That's going to happen. I mean, but when you walk them, it's almost like you're intentionally going so bad. You see that it's not working. You're not trying to fix anything. And it's not because you're just being you. Me and James have seen people walk because they didn't like agree with somebody politically, and the person wasn't even being political. They walked up somebody's. Yeah.
Hold on. You and I did a set Saturday, and anytime somebody says Trump or Biden, I go, oh Lord, here we go.
Buzzwords. Those are immediate buzzwords. You should
know as a comedian, especially since they both were pretty polarizing in their comments, that you're going to turn people off immediately, and they're not like great jokes.
That's the thing. Yeah, they're not good. They're not even good enough jokes. If they're good enough jokes, you got to do it. Like it's fun. But if they're not good jokes and you're just using like politics to try to get people's attention, because it piques people's attention real quick. But you have to have something fun to follow.
But it's not funny.
Yeah, if it's not
funny, a lot of these guys aren't
good.
funny. And one of these guys tried to bark back at the audience, and I'll not say which one, but the guy from the audience goes, "Hey, relax, dude. You're on the B side of this one."
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I was like, and the comedian didn't know what B-side meant
Yeah.
because they don't know records. So I
No,
was like,
not at all.
I was
No,
like,
no,
a
not at all.
45 has a B-side. And I was like going, oh
Not
God.
at
You're
all.
so old, Jeff, that you
I
went to
know.
records instead of tapes. And you went to
Yeah.
45s. You're like, the 45's got a B side. He's like, when I was in Menlo Park.
Mm.
But yeah, man. Yeah.
But we're talking about people getting fired and you get that call to go do it. The worst part is sometimes you'll know the guy, like you said, Miguel.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
know the guy you're replacing, and it's gonna be an awkward conversation at some point. It's gonna be, hey man, yeah, I got a call, brother. That's why I'm
And-
here.
And the
Oh,
thing
they
is, early in your career is awkward. Now I'm like, yo, you got fired? They're sending me up, bro. Like, yo. Like, I'm just
You-
laughing, and they're like, yeah, man. No, I'm like, nah, Joe's cool. You whack. Like,
the
I
audience
did.
didn't get me. They
Yeah,
didn't
the audience
understand.
Nobody
Yeah.
gets you.
No,
Like,
no.
I did a show over in Vasani's, and it was the first time I was headlining. Vasani's is this real nice Italian. It's a comedy club, but it has a great Italian restaurant in it. It's an
It is.
amazing comedy club, beautiful. And the first time I was headlining over there, I showed up and I came in there and I was like, whoa, my feature was John Charles, this incredible headliner, like
Mhm.
a guy I've known for years. And I walked in and I was like, whoa, I was like, John, you're my feature? He was like, yeah. I said, damn, man. I said, why are you featuring your headliner? He goes, oh, because if you suck, they're going to flip it and make me the headliner. He's like, yeah. He's like, so what's up?
Hey, what are the Parmesan? It's delicious.
Yeah.
That is true though, man. Because there's certain ways that they'll let us move up, and
Mhm.
what we mean by moving up is, let's say you start out as a MC, you can move up to be the feature act. Feature act does about 20 to 25 minutes, and then you can keep working a club and eventually move from a feature to a headliner. You're the last guy. You're the person that everybody came to see, and you're doing probably an hour. When they let you move up though, it's a good thing and it's a nerve-wracking thing, because if you move up and that first time at the club when they let you do it and you don't do well, they bump you back down,
Yeah,
and
you
they'll
down
never
for a
look at
while.
you again. Yeah,
you
man.
down
We've
for
seen
a
that
while.
happen.
Yeah.
And
And then
I-
what's funny is, like, here's the thing. This is the truth. They're a business. They want you to move up. They need new
Yes.
talent. But my
Yes.
God, Jeff, will they act like they're doing you the biggest favor?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like they'll literally be like, listen, this Thanksgiving weekend's a really big weekend. Jeff in comedy, and guys who are new to this, Thanksgiving
Oh.
weekend is the biggest scam
Worst.
on comedy. That's where you'll
Oh.
move up to a new club the quickest, because it's the worst weekend for
It
comedy.
is.
Thanksgiving
horrible.
weekend
Nobody's
is
there.
horrible. Nobody's there to see comedy. Everybody has 1,000 things to do. Most people are traveling back home on those weekends. So Thanksgiving weekend, one of the worst weekends you could do at clubs. And they'll
Mhm.
literally be like, listen, I'm gonna do you this special, kid.
Hey,
I
come
got
on.
this daytime show on 4th of July.
Daytime.
Yeah. And you're like,
It's
you
like
just
going
gotta
to the
sit there.
strip club during the
Yeah.
day. It's
you gotta
horrible.
pretend like they're coming to you with the greatest offer. You're like, wow, and I get a free burger. You guys.
And all
Hey.
the Coke I can drink. It's great.
There you go. There you
Hey,
go.
Devin Siebold one time was performing at a comedy club all week and kept getting Diet Cokes. And at the end of his run, they presented him with a bill for all his Diet
Oh.
Cokes. I was
Mm.
like, it was one of the Carolina clubs, not the good one.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's right. Not that good.
not the good one.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question, Miguel.
Go ahead.
When we do a show and it's going well, and somebody comes up to us at the end and goes, "Hey, listen, I got a club, so on and so on. Why don't you?" And it's like, let's say it's an hour and a half from where we're at, and they go, "Why don't you come down and do a guest spot?" And you're going, "Okay," but then you're thinking, for 7 minutes, you have me driving 3 hours.
Yeah, well, it's my choice. So I'm just like, cool. Like, if
Mm.
here's the thing, I've had big clubs who saw me and they're like, "You're great," but they still want me to come do a guest spot at their
It
club.
happens.
And you got to decide, is it worth it? But it's not insulting. It's insulting if I say no and then they try to keep selling it to me. But it's not insulting because and here's another one. A guest spot, a lot of times too, they're all booked up. So they'll just be like, "Hey man, because they got their whole schedule booked up for the next couple months." But they're like, "I'd love for you to come out there." Because a lot of times too, what they're hoping is like, I hope you want to do this club too. But you know,
Yes.
and there are people who don't understand. There'll be people who run like a room that's horrible, and they're like, "Yo, man, I got this hookah lounge. Come do a guest
Oh
spot."
my
I'm like, "No, you
God.
can't pay me to do a hookah lounge. I never,
Mm-mm.
ever will do hookah lounges, guys. It's the worst. Hookah lounge is the worst. Is
They're
not
not
for comedy.
interested.
They're not interested.
No,
No, they're
they're
just sitting
not
there
interested.
smoking
No.
their hookah dope, and they're just
Good
hanging
dope.
out, yeah, drinking
Yeah.
orange juices and weird stuff. And I'm like, no, no, no. But it's always weird.
Papaya
Yeah.
juice.
Yeah,
like-
just sitting there. Yeah, I'm like performing for a caliphate. He's just like smoke. I'm like, I think if I performed I think if I performed in Wonderland to the Caterpillar, I would do better than this audience.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
people hit you up with a guest spot, and also, it's sort of a comedy currency to say I got a room. If you ever want to come by, man, maybe I can
Yes,
get you there.
that is
But
true.
if you ever want to do a guest spot, so there's different level. Like I'm not gonna do guest spots in rooms that are just a couple hours from my home that I could probably just go headline soon. But the reason I was able to get all these rooms in Austin and Dallas and Houston was because I came over there for months and did guest spots everywhere. You know, I flew
Say
out
that
there,
again,
and yeah, I
say,
said
say
the
that
reason I
again,
was
Miguel,
able,
because
the reason I was able to book
people
my
need to hear
rooms,
this.
yeah, I booked headlining gigs in Austin, Dallas, and Houston was because I flew out there. They didn't know me for anything. I don't have a huge following online. So I just came in and luckily because of friends I had were like, can you give this guy a guest spot? And people asked, they're like, so what are you doing here? I said, no, I flew all the way out here just to do guest spots. They're like, really? And I'm like, man, I want to work these clubs. I like
It's
your
an
clubs.
investment in the work that you want
Yeah.
to get. Yeah.
And that's how I got, that's how I got these small headlining gigs that I have. And hopefully they're going to move on to and bigger feature gigs for bigger comics. I'm going to be out in Dallas in 2 weeks out there, man, which Dallas is great. But I did guest spots and it cost me, but now the money's good going out there. The money's great. It's taking care of everything. But you have to really pick and choose, man, in anything in your career. I'm sure, Jeff, before you were doing comedy, when you were doing law, did you have to pick things like pro bono work too? Like, is this worth it for me? Is this
Dude, it's anything that walked in the door. We were, I don't know if we have time. I think,
man,
we got like a minute left, but I want to come back to this because it is a great question.
I will tell you how bad it was.
Gotcha. Because
what you're willing to do.
Because when you're first trying to build your business, and as a comic, you're your own business. You're a brand, and as a lawyer, you're trying to build that brand as well. So you're going to have to do some free stuff, no matter what you're starting out as a business. There's going to be some stuff that you do just to get the name out there, just to do it for the look, so people understand that you are out there and you can try to.
You got to be bold.
Yeah, you got to be bold.
You're like, good news, cinnamon and milk chocolate. I took a ruler and a measuring tape out there. You were way over 1,000 yards from that middle school. So I don't know what they're talking about. We're gonna win this one. We're gonna win this one, guys.
No, I wouldn't like a drink. It's 12 noon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for smoking Pall Malls in my office.
Do they still make?
Thank you.
Do they still make?
Oh, they do. You just have to get them at like not like the Circle K. You got to find one of these like Joe Don Danny convenience stores.
A Sonico. All right.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. I want to hear from Mr. Jeff Kaufman about when he first started law, what he had to do, and some of the things he had to sacrifice to make sure this practice was successful. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right here on Real Last Real Radio 104.1. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you. You're still listening to Real Last right here on Real Radio 104.1. I'm your host today, Mr. James Young, comedian extraordinaire, joined in studio with some very funny comedians as well, Mr. Jeff Kaufman from the law practices of Kaufman and Lynn, and Miguel Colon Jr. from the practices that they do over at the Sausage Castle. That's right, man.
Practice, we were just nothing, boys. It's always the playoffs for me. Practice.
Before
we talk about practice. We're not talking about the game that I give my all to and put my heart out there. We're talking about practice. We're not talking about practice.
Now, dumb question before we hear from Mr. Jeff Kaufman on starting out in law. Did you guys do a Super Bowl party for out in the castle?
No, not this year. No.
Okay, gotcha. I didn't know if that was something that y'all were down with.
Yeah, we used to always do when we did Sausage Bowl every year. What we would do is we'd have a huge Super Bowl party, and then we'd play a flag football game before the Super Bowl. And we would get all these retired NFL guys who were like centers and linemen who just live in Florida, and all of them would be a captain of the teams. And then they each team had 5 players plus a captain, and it was it's like light touch though. It gets a little hard. And then basically every team, because every dude in the NFL, whether he was a lineman, whether he was a back, everyone can throw. Everyone
Yeah.
wanted to be a quarterback at least one point, you know?
Yeah,
So all
that's
these
true.
dudes are captains. They can all spiral it and throw better than you've ever thrown in your life.
That's
so
crazy.
they would be the quarterbacks. And at the end, the winning team would win like $5,000. It would be $1,000 per player.
Woo.
And so
Woo.
it was like a bracketed thing. But here's the best part. Every now and then, so like we the quarterbacks wouldn't win. They were just like the celebrity. We bring them out there. We take care of them. They would, but every now and then you got some dude who's hard on his luck. He's like, what you mean I'm not getting a piece of this money? Like, we're like, no, you're like the celebrity quarterback. You're brought in. He's like, oh, hell no. Come on, man. Come on, I need
Bro.
gas money. You know,
I need a slice.
Bro, I gave up my shift at the Waffle House for this. What do
Yeah.
you mean I'm not getting paid? Come
like,
on, brother.
the CT ain't gonna pay for itself. Oh, he's doing it again. He got the nosebleed.
He's doing it. He doesn't know where he's at.
He got
Blue,
that 80s football
32.
nosebleed.
Blue 48. All right.
Put your hands down. I'm not your wife.
Now, before we, God dang it, that's where we're gonna end it. All right, man. It was a good run, guys.
You know not to wake me, Felicia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm working on it.
Good Lord.
I was a cop
Now, before we
this.
went to break, man, we were talking about in comedy, you'll have to do guest spots. Now, guest spots basically are traveling auditions. You'll go to wherever that club may be located, and you'll do 5
Free.
to 7 minutes free,
Yeah.
not paid,
Free.
so you can audition to work at that club. Now, we were asking Jeff, is there something similar that he had to do?
I don't want to find out my
law?
lawyer is doing a guest spot on this trial.
Yeah.
I've been really wanting to get in front of this judge, so this is good.
Hey,
I'm gonna
Yara.
try 3 new real quick.
3 new ones.
Listen, when the doors open up, you take whatever comes in the door. And
Yeah.
some people can't afford attorneys on the level that they should. So they go to attorneys that haven't done the area law yet. And one day this woman came in the office and she had this complicated securities and exchange case. I mean, it supposedly it was bad stock and everything else. And she was the low woman on the on the totem pole. And my ex-partner goes, okay, we'll do it for a flat fee of $2,000. And I didn't know anything about SEC.
You guys are high-fiving each other. We just made $2,000.
Yes. That's what one of us made for the whole month.
Yeah.
And it was
bless.
ridiculous. And they go, well, Jeff, you could look it up. You could figure it out. And I remember the first time I went into one of these meetings with all these SEC attorneys and the government and everything. And I walked
Oh, because it
into
was
the
one of those
boardroom.
it was you and then the big bad SEC, like 20
Yeah.
guys and clipboard.
Oh, yeah.
Let me ask this without interrupting. Did they sun you or were they cool to you? Because there's always that. I'm going off movies, guys. I'm going to give you the 2 scenarios. There's
That's
the one
right.
scenario where you go and sit there and they're looking at you like, look at this punk. You're blah, 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 blah. We're going to eat you live. And then there's the other scenario where it's like, oh, hell, boy. Welcome to the big club. Want a little whiskey? You'll be fine. Everybody loses their first couple ones. You're a good kid. I like this boy. Come on, son. Let's take the helicopter to go get some lunch. You'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
Look at that tie. That's a good tie. What was that? $15, $20? Woo. This boy's spending. This boy's spending.
$7.99. Yeah.
I throw you some work from time to time too. We get a lot of cases of like homeless people sleeping outside buildings. I got you, son. You
I
all
got
right?
you. Is that a clip on?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
How was it? Like, what was the vibe of you being in front of Goliath?
Oh man. You see, the problem is this. I'm aggressive.
Okay.
I'm still extremely aggressive. I'm a little less nasty than I used to be because I realize, you don't want to sour the whole patch. And
This whole damn courtroom's out of order, Your Honor.
yeah, oh yeah, that was light for me. And I came in here, Flame was, and the person in there, and this was a table. I mean, this room was bigger than my whole office now. That's how big this conference room was. I mean, I've never seen this table was like, they could fit, I think it was 80 people at this table. That's how big it was. And I was like, are you kidding? I'm looking around the room and the guy was just beating on me. And he was like, well, your little firm, your cute little firm. And he kept calling it a cute little firm.
Oh, well, wait. I can say as a man.
Yeah.
We don't ever want to hear that out of anyone's mouth. You're cute little anything.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear that intimidating, gargantuan.
He looks like
huge.
a dock worker. He's
Yeah.
big and scary.
And I wrote this joke as he was grilling me. I had the joke in my head. I said, open it up for me, dude. Just open it up.
Uh-huh.
He went after me. And I said to him, I said, wow. I said, yeah, you're right. My office it's a nice little office. I said, how big is this room? And he goes, how, what do you mean? I said, it's got to be what? It feels like it's 10,000 square feet. And the guy goes, yeah, about that. I said, how bad do you got to screw your client to pay for this thing?
Yeah, sucker. What up?
And,
Flip the
and his
desk over.
client looked over at him like this.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
just say this: within 30 minutes, they agreed that my client paid like $1,500 and she could leave.
That's cool. Was that good for your client too?
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
She would have been crushed for
Yes.
$1,500. She looked at me. She goes, they came at me for millions, and I was like laughing. They just wanted me out so bad that they cut that deal.
Gotcha.
And
That's cool.
I'll never forget that. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. So
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
you know.
So
Did you ever like so you started? Let me get a little bit of your origin because I never really talked to you much about this. But
about the law
when
origin?
you started, you said you and your partner. How long did you just start your own firm with a partner, or did you go work on just because I know you did public defender work too, right?
I worked for a bank for about a year, and then I realized what I was doing, and I had to pay penance. So I worked at the public defender's office for a month and a half, for a year and a half, and I always wanted to work at Disney. So I applied for one of these jobs, and I was in competition with like a monorail driver. And it
Not
was
as a lawyer for Disney. This was just a Disney job.
it was a big management position, and since I had managed a huge budget at the bank, I said, okay, this is going to be it. I mean, they said a $25 million budget. I said I did $1 billion at the bank, and they said, don't worry, there's no way that you won't get this job. And Disney came back and said, well, he had seniority.
That's Mikey from the monorail
with a high school diploma.
Yeah.
You know, I can't win this.
Yeah.
And that day I called Craig up and I said, Craig, we're opening our own firm. We're bringing Matt with us.
How did you know Craig? How did you guys know each other?
Craig and I were partners
Not from
at
the
the
gym.
Yeah, Craig and I were partners at the public defender's office, and Matt was a state attorney. He just been there for like 6 months. And I had a feeling. I said the three of us are going to work well together, and for 18 years we did.
That's
so
wow, I did not know you guys were together that I forget that long.
Yeah.
How many people?
Craig and I have been alone for nine years together. So
Gotcha.
How many people like honestly look at Craig and look at you and they're like, no, I want the one who looks like a lawyer. Not the Spartan. I don't want my whole defense to be hold the line. You know, Jeff's like, Jeff's like, we got an integrated defense here. I think we can prove this witness is lying. This, and Craig is like, we crush witness and then we smash.
I'm gonna need you to put on a shirt.
The sad thing is this. The sad part about it is Craig is a lot more controlled than I am.
Really?
I am the Tasmanian devil sometimes.
Really?
It's whack-a-mole for me. You know, I don't have to know anything about the witness or anything else like that. I'm going to get you. And normally what happens if Craig and I are trying a case together, Craig will go, well, we don't know anything about him, so he's yours.
Yeah.
And I'll get you eventually. And
Craig comes up to the stands and he's like, Your Honor, burpees up.
Burpees.
Oh, he got us with the burpees defense again. Goddamn, Craig
God.
and that cardio.
That's so hilarious, man. Damn it, Craig.
Yeah, he's a beast. You know, it is funny because we do have clients who come in and they'll see both of us. And they, you know, I've had people go, is he like your security?
Yeah.
No.
I go, no, he's
a lawyer.
He's my partner. He's been my partner for almost 28 years. So yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. That's the cool part about your practice, brother. Me and Miguel have been in your office a lot of times. If we're walking into a lawyer's office, it's nothing what you expect when you walk in your office. And I mean that in a great way. It's the mood there, the people that work there, it's completely different than anything you think you're gonna see. It's not like a TV lawyer where you go in there, everyone's like, yeah. No, everybody's pretty down to earth and cool. You got comic book stuff everywhere. Your staff's happy. They're young, running around, and Craig looks like Thor. Who was wrong?
Like Jeff pass bar, Craig lift bar.
It's actually a pleasant place to be. So well done.
Well, I've learned a lot. You got to realize we were a 600-person law firm. That's crazy. Craig and I hated it.
You didn't like it?
I felt it was impersonal. I felt the people were treated poorly. I felt the clients weren't getting the attention they needed. And I was like, I've had enough. And I said, I'm never going to allow myself to get like that again. you know, even
Like
though,
it.
you know, we wound up, the math was this, we figured out we helped people out to the tune of over $5 billion.
That's wild.
I mean, that was a ridiculous number. But the point is I still have people who work for me. I realized in our time, our 18 years, we had over 2,000 attorneys who worked for us.
Wow, that's a
And
lot.
I didn't,
brother.
and I can't, if I knew 1% of them, I'd be lucky.
Wow.
And that's not
Gotcha.
who I want to be. You know,
Mm-mm.
I want to be able to, we had a client who came up to us at the comedy show.
All for the money. Yes,
And they
yes.
were like, Jeff, you know, you saved my life. I was homeless. I was everything.
They did.
And
They
you
did.
saw
They
the look
think.
on my face.
Yeah.
But hey, thanks for letting me do that for you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost impossible for me to acknowledge that I'm not fortunate to be able to help you.
Yes. Yes.
And go,
And that's
no,
how
no,
you
you're
always.
welcome. You know,
And that's the cool thing about what you do, Jeff. You help people. Like you set up tents and you will give out free legal advice to people. No money. Hey, just let me help you. And you helped me when I first met you. We didn't even know each other that well yet. My son got into some legal trouble. And you helped me out with that case, and you didn't want anything for it. So I always tell people what great things that
Jeff
you do to give
Jeff
back.
Kaufman will bend over backwards to help anybody that
Yep.
he knows needs help,
Yep.
and he will do whatever. And Craig, he's single-handedly fought the Chitauri in New York. I watched it. I watched. He's like, Craig, stop Chitauri invasion. Also, must discuss Catholic Church moving around priests. Not cool. You know.
Guys, we got about a minute left. I always want to give you guys time to let everybody know where you're going to be this weekend. So, Miguel, you got anything coming up this weekend, brother?
This weekend, actually, yeah, I am going to be in Largo, Florida with Electric Rodeo. That is our electric mechanical bull company that me and Mike
Oh,
own.
nice.
We're taking it down to Largo, hosting a mechanical bull event at Cowboys Dance Hall in Largo. They have a 12,000 square foot dance floor. The show is Saturday at 8 p.m. and goes on till the end of the night. It's the Sexy Mechanical Bull Contest competition. So, man or woman, get on there and show us your sexy mechanical bull riding, and you could win prizes.
Nice. Mr. Kaufman, where are you going to be this weekend, my brother?
well, you and I are doing Under Oath
Yep.
from 7:30 to 9 on Real Radio 104.1.
Mhm.
And my guest interview is with John Seda from La Brea and Chicago Fire and Gladiator. That's cool.
Nice, man. Not bad at all. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for listening to us. This is Real Last. We'll see you guys tomorrow. But before we do that, Miguel, tell them what to do.
Take your ass to bed.
There you go. We out.